All right, Mark, we are ending 2022, heading into 2023, and I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I think there's so much opportunity, but at the same time, I don't know where this year went.
It went fast and it went like a roller coaster. So let's jump into it. And in Austin right now, we have right around 8,500 homes for sale. And we are just off our high of 10,000, which is very common for Austin this time of year. Sellers tend to take their houses off of market. And we do that in order to keep our total days on market as low as possible, because people that are purchasing homes right now in some of the higher price points are just off with their families, they're vacationing, they are not thinking about buying a house. But something you always say is those who need to buy houses right now are out shopping.
They are, and they are aggressively shopping. And I think there are so many deals to be had this time of year at all times, but especially recently compared to what was going on in the summer when it seemed like it was crickets out there in the market at some days.
Absolutely. We've had this dichotomy this year. On one side, it was we want to buy a house, we want to buy a house, we want to buy a house, but the market is too competitive with all these low rates. Now the rate shot up and people are like, we want to wait, we want to wait, we want to wait.
And a lot of my millennial peers, we've been joking, but like at the same time, the sentiment is totally true. We have been waiting for a real estate crash and we don't have one right now. But at the same time, like home ownership is much more attainable right now as opposed to what we had before. And so they're not jumping in. And so what I'm seeing is a lot of people still sitting on the sidelines, but the ones that are jumping in, they're really taking advantage of some great deals.
Well, the thing is, in Austin, Texas, we continue to be in a seller's market. We will be in a seller's market for the foreseeable future. It is a supply and demand world. It is not going to change. But what we are seeing is this space where sellers are creating opportunities for buyers that didn't exist before. Because even though we have more inventory and we still don't have enough inventory, there is a softening, if you will, and a more norm of buyers and sellers working together to make deals happen.
We see all the ups and downs in this world, and we on the purchase side, like I see contracts executed both in Austin and in all these different markets, and the seller concession is back and it's better than ever. Before COVID and before the low rates and before just the point where we had to tell the seller, like, what else do you want? The seller concession was prevalent in the market. And so we see it again, and it's super helpful for buyers these days.
Absolutely. I mean, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, that was absolutely the trend. And so to see it back now, just for me, feels like a more balanced market. And I, for one, truly believe that this is an opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
For sure. For sure. And we're going to talk about some forecasts that we have. And the reality is like somebody can make and maintain a lot of wealth, even with 1-2% appreciation. And so what we're seeing, we just got the numbers for Case Shiller nationally, 9.6% year over year appreciation. And that's from those elevated 2021 prices through October. And so we're seeing a more normalization, like you said, but at the same time, the opportunity is arguably greater.
Yeah, it really is. And, every month around the third week of the month, our numbers come out for the month previous. And so, we always say that real estate is a lagging indicator of what is happening in the market. And so this year, for the first time, in December, we look at November numbers. So the city of Austin right now, our median sales price is $530,000, which is down 1% versus a year ago. And it's the first time we've been down like in years.
And it's all relative, right? Like I'm always bringing this up, but what are we comparing it to? We're comparing it to that 2021 market where buyers couldn't get a purchase price, and the close sale to that list price was probably like what, 104%, 107%, just averaged out. And so what are we comparing it to? That's the ultimate question.
Absolutely. And so you bring up a really good point, and that is, don't get hooked by the media. When you look at real estate, it is a hyper local consideration. And when you are looking to move to a city, if you're looking to move to a neighborhood, if you're looking to move to a particular street, having the data about that area is so important, especially when everything here is tied to school zones, and where people pay to live. And so when we say we're down 1% versus last year, which was completely unsustainable, our economy couldn't handle that continuation, and people were getting outbid left, right, and center. And the dream of first time home buyership was like totally like heading right out the door fast and furious.
I think in reality, I and a lot of other millennials would like to see that down more than 1%, right? But here's the dichotomy that we're living in. We have this data that comes out, like you said, it's always looking backwards, and it's also always 45 to 60 days outdated. And so we're looking at the headlines. The headlines and the news, they're not picking up those headlines until 60 plus days have been removed. And so the professionals that are working boots on the ground, we're seeing things develop much more quickly and literally weeks ahead of time before the news catches up to it.
Oh yeah. And let's even think about the fact like days on market. So average days on market right now in Austin for the city of Austin in November is 48 days. That is up 27 days versus last year at this time. Like amen to that, because people didn't have time. There was so much scrambling going on and this fear of missing out, that now we're actually back to the space where people can see a house and then think about whether or not they want to make a bid on that house. For the most part, I mean, they actually get to sleep on the thought of putting together a contract for a house. That did not exist like a year ago.
A lot of these properties before or as they made it on the market, they were gone that day, right? And so that presents a lot of problems for the buyers. But I talk with agents all the time. It's like now you finally have the opportunity to market your listing and actually do what it is that you're supposed to be doing, which is generate leads and business and conversations from the inventory that you have. And so I think there's silver linings in all this, Jennifer, but one of my forecasts for 2023 is it's going to be a much better year for a seasoned professional real estate agent than it was this year. And so I hope to see that come true.
All right. So that's prediction number one from Mark. And when it comes time to marketing, it is an art form. Your house is location, 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 always. Then we consider what is the condition of your house? And then we consider the price for your area. A good marketer knows how to market their house for top dollar and understands what the market is about. And I, for one, am grateful for the fact that I think you might know this, but I was in advertising for 27 years before I got into real estate.
It shows, Jennifer. You school me every now and again.
I love marketing. I love the strategy. I love helping my sellers tell the story of their home. And as you know, that is like this continuing evolving opportunity to really promote the house in the best light possible. And that's where the understanding of the market, the neighborhood, the seller, and then in particularly the buyer of that house comes into play. So I agree with you 100% that 2023 marketing of a home has not been this important for probably, I would say, the last, I'm going to say 4 years.
2018 we were approaching 5% rates, and that was the end of the previous good ride that we were all on. But it was like 8 months of some suck in 2018. And then 2019 rates started coming down, and then COVID came, and there was that cataclysm that happened, and there was a lot of uncertainty. And then 45 days later, everything evened out and rates just came down, down, down from there.
Okay, let's tie that into prediction number 2. When do you predict we will get to 5% again, Mark?
I think the 5%, there's so much that goes into this, y'all. But if I'm going to put a date out there, I'm going to say September 1st. I think it's going to be in that end of Q3, early Q4. But let's go September 1.
Okay, this is interesting. You actually believe we are going to hit 5, as low as 5 even by September of 2023?
So much of this has to do with inflation, right? And so the reason why inflation is so important in terms of mortgage rates is when an investor is buying a mortgage, they're buying the interest, right? And so when we live in inflationary times and we believe that inflation is going to be higher in the future, for the investor, they need to receive a higher interest rate in the beginning. And so if we are having the proof already month over month that inflation is coming down, that means the market is going to start to believe that inflation is going to continue to come down.
Mhm.
And that's really where we're going to see mortgage rates come down.
5 is a bold prediction.
I mean, we're always better a little bit than the market. And so
Yeah.
let's put it out there. Why not?
Okay. All right. You heard it here first. All right. And I am going to predict that, okay, if we're going to go all the way out to Q3/Q4, where will we end next year? I think I'm going to go 5.25.
I mean, it's very similar in my book, right? Like the difference for most clients between 0.25%, even 0.375%, it's not going to be the difference maker on somebody choosing to purchase a house or not. And so the main thing is really what is going on internationally, because that is what's caused in the last couple of days for rates to actually come up a little bit. It's also a little bit of like the Christmas to New Year lull. And so there's very few traders out there in the market right now actually trading. And so I think we're very much in a connected world. And so what happens in Europe, what happens in Asia, very much is going to determine what we see here locally.
Fair enough. All right. So let's talk Main Street versus Wall Street and predictions for 2023. I'm going to predict that we see more Wall Street purchases in 2023 than we saw in 2022, because these guys are ramping up. They're putting away billions waiting to strike. And I think 2023 is going to see an even bigger chunk of our residential real estate being bought up by Wall Street. What do you think?
100% agreement. And it's both like there's the anecdotal evidence of what we're hearing that they're doing, but then there's the obvious element of it, which is we talk about the fundamentals in real estate and providing shelter to a country that is lacking shelter. It sounds like a really good investment in my book. So it doesn't really surprise me. And so 100% agreement.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about residential real estate and you're waiting, and then you have a huge opportunity that you are going to actually be going up against Wall Street. You don't want that. You want to be able to buy a home in a fair market.
So right now we don't have enough inventory to meet what the actual demand is. Right now, like we have artificially low demand because of what the Fed is doing, because of what the news is doing to create it into that environment. But we have so much pent up demand that if we were to actually take everybody that affords to buy and turn them from renter to owner, and if we were to actually allow homeowners to upsize or downsize like they normally need to, we simply wouldn't have enough to meet the current demand. And so the difficulty in Wall Street money coming in and scooping up, and not just scooping up, but then building their own single family inventory, that inventory is never going to be available to the retail buyer. It's never going to be able to be bought as a primary residence in the future. And so that really doesn't help, and it actually exacerbates our inventory problem that we have already today.
I agree 100,000%, which is like the most percent you can agree, just so you know, it's a number. And it is a real thing that we are losing opportunity for home ownership. So, all things being equal in this coming year, if you were thinking about and you have the opportunity to buy a home, and I'm not saying everybody needs to buy a home or should buy a home, I'm saying if the opportunity exists, then you'd really want to consider it, because the inventory is only going to get tighter and tighter and tighter as Wall Street continues to come and buy up all of these homes that will never again be for sale for people like you and me.
And for the homeowner that is looking at their investments and really looking at it and hasn't considered investing in real estate, like what we're talking about right now from the fundamentals perspective, like this is a massive opportunity for somebody to go out, actually provide the units, right? Provide the inventory, both to rent and to own. And so there's a lot of opportunity out there. And I just hope the market continues to actually meet that demand.
Ditto. All right. So last prediction, because we're keeping it light and tight. What are your predictions for 2023 with builder inventory? Are they going to ramp up? Are they going to stay flat? Or are they just going to continue to hobble along at their own rate, keeping prices higher than they need to be?
Yeah, there's no reason for a builder to just create a bunch of inventory. There's no incentive for that to happen. And so I think at best we stay flat, but based on like the permits being applied for and the permits being issued, that's slowing down. And so I think it comes down in reality.
Okay, so you think builders will be building less homes in 2023 than in 2022?
I think so. I mean, I would love to be wrong on this, right? But
I
if
would
anything,
love you to be wrong.
I'm going to even out like my karma and say, yeah, like let's hope for me to be wrong on this one. But there's simply no incentive for a builder to create more competition for themselves when their sales reps aren't actually closing the units that they already have available.
Fair enough. All right, so I'm going to put one last twist on it. What's your prediction in 2023 for builders building rent to own versus building residential real estate? Are they going to build more rent to own? Are they going to build less rent to own? Or are they going to stay just on track for what they're doing currently?
Who pays more money? I think that at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters, right? And I think there's that element to it, but then it's who's providing the financing and who's actually carrying those holding costs. And so it really just simply a numbers game when it comes down to the builder element of this business.
Okay, so my prediction for 2023 is that builders will be building more rent to own opportunities than they will actual for sale for private residences.
There's nothing wrong with it because, again, there are renters that need to rent or want to rent for one reason or another, and they simply don't have available inventory to rent. And so anything we can do to bring in inventory, I'm all for it. But at the end of the day, I would love to see it available for the primary residence buyer because we know that's the backbone of our economy and that's the biggest driver of wealth.
Yep. All right. So last prediction of the year, knowing right now that our median sales price is $530,000 in the city of Austin, what do you predict our median sales price will be in December of 2023?
I'm just going to keep it simple and say 535. I really think that we're going to see a little bit of up, we're going to see a little bit of down, but at the end of the day, I think Austin and like Austin proper, it's going to see basically remain flat. But there are definitely neighborhoods in Austin, in and around the greater Austin area that are going to see whether it's 1% appreciation to 3% appreciation. I think that's totally going to happen because, like you said earlier, real estate is all local. And yes, there's a greater Austin area, but each of us are filled with micro markets everywhere. And there are some markets that are more desirable than others. You mentioned it earlier, schools, location, location, location.
Absolutely. And my prediction is that we will have I too believe we are going to have a relatively flat year for 2023 and that we are going to see certain areas, especially those that are around a lot of the tech companies within a certain radius, really go up in value as folks are coming to town. And we're also going to see the MSA. I think we're not going to be flat. I think we are going to actually be up. I'm going to bet about a 5% in certain areas because that trip down the highway is worth its weight in gold for a lot of people who are willing to do the drive. And I think all of these areas that we're seeing build up are going to really get a nice increase next year.
I just want to add, I mean, for 99% of the buyers that I'm working with, we're not buying homes, both investment properties or just homes to live in. We're not buying it with a one-year mentality, right? And so when we look at what's going on in the market and we look at it as a forecast over the next 5 years, we're looking at around 20%, both in Austin and up here in the DFW. Again, depends on the micro market that you're in. And so prices remaining flat, that in and of itself, it's a little complicated, right? Because it's really tough to have lower priced inventory actually make it to market, both because why give it up? And then because a lot of it does go off market, right? And so I wouldn't be surprised to see that number go up. But
Mhm.
from kind of my perspective, I think home prices in general, they remain flat.
Okay. I love your predictions. All right. Well, with that said, for those who've been tuning in, we thank you so much. If you have any thoughts, questions, considerations, please comment below. We'd love to know what you would like to have us talking about in 2023. We have a lot of really cool stuff coming forward, and wishing everyone a healthy and happy new year.
Happy New Year. Be free in 2023. That's my saying now.
Be free in 2023. Thanks all for tuning in. Bye-bye.